Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Creating an Effective Internship Program for Success. We're excited to have you join us today and to hear some insights and strategies from a number of leading Connecticut manufacturing impressive executives, as well as from an intern who's worked in this ecosystem in the course of these last couple of years. I'm going to show you the agenda next, please, and walk you through the program for this morning rather. So we are going to hear shortly from Paul Lavoie, and then we are going to be welcoming on Hannah Belmont from Westminster Tool, Carol Bodeker from Habco Industries, as well as Michael Rocheleau from PTA Plastics. Then we'll hear from Cassandra Chambers. And I will provide at around 11:40 an overview of the MIF-funded internship program for manufacturing here in Connecticut, followed by Q&A. And we will be asking you, next slide, please. We will be asking you to place your comments or questions in the chat section of Zoom. We will address those in the Q&A around 11:45. But we do have you all in the audience on mute this morning. So thank you for your patience with that. And thank you again to my great partners who are with me today to describe this program. So with that, I'd like to invite Paul Lavoie on. And Paul, we're so excited as always to have your leadership and your representation and your advocacy for the manufacturing ecosystem and how we can all inspire and bring in the next generation of workforce. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Eileen, and hello, everybody. I am so excited for this webinar today. This is a very, very exciting program that I'm very thankful for the Connecticut Center for Advanced Technology and Eileen for putting this together so that we can show all of you manufacturers how you can take advantage of a tremendous internship program that will help you build and grow the workforce that you're going to need to continue to support your growing business. The Manufacturing Innovation Fund funded this program 2 summers ago, and we've gone through cohort 0, which is what we call the first group, and cohort 1. And the whole idea behind this program is that if you learn in Connecticut, we want you to earn in Connecticut. And that means that we want to make sure that we're ensuring that college students are getting the opportunities to have internships at great Connecticut companies to be able to learn all of the amazing things that we manufacture here in the state of Connecticut and all of the tremendous job opportunities that there are as well. In addition, we welcome back all of those students that live in Connecticut and go to school outside of Connecticut because we want to keep all their moms happy by making sure they find jobs back here in the state of Connecticut. So we're very excited to share with you what this internship program is, but more importantly, we have 3 great manufacturing leaders. We have Mike Rocheleau from PTA Plastics, Carol Bodeker from Habco Industries, and Hannah Belmont from Westminster Tool, who are going to share with you how they have maximized internships and how they use interns to get really cool projects done and to make sure that these kids understand the tremendous opportunities. And then just to make sure that you're hearing from interns themselves, we'll bring Cassandra on to talk about all of the great things that she learned from her internship and the value of the program. So please join me in welcoming on our 3 manufacturers. So Michael, Carol, and Hannah, please welcome to the conversation.
Thank you, Paul.
And here they are. So what I'd like you to do is to just basically let everybody know, what your company is and what your role is in the company and the number of employees. And then what you can do is take just give them an understanding of the internship programs that you've managed over that, what worked and how you've structured them. And then, how do some tips that manufacturers that are listening in can use to make sure they maximize their internships. So Michael, we'll start with you in PTA Plastics, then we'll go to Carol, and then we'll go to Hannah. So Michael, take it away.
Thanks, Paul. My name's Mike Rocheleau. I'm part of the leadership team with PTA Plastics. PTA Plastics is an injection molder, contract manufacturer, and mold builder. We're located in Oxford, Connecticut. We have a second location in Boulder, Colorado. We have about 240 full-time associates, and then we also supplement our workforce with some contract labor for a total of about 300 people, divided pretty much evenly between our two locations. Interesting, PTA is an employee-owned company. In 2012, the prior ownership group made the choice, as they were looking at succession planning and an exit strategy, to sell the company to the employees. So right now we sit with about 240 employee owners of the company, which we like to think makes a difference in the way we operate and the level at which our employees are invested. As markets served, we're in medical device. That's about 80% of our business. We are in defense and security, and commercial and industrial. So we're a big job shop. So it's a low volume, high mix operation. Our record with internships has changed over time. We had what I think many people view as a very traditional approach to internships, and that was we had a one intern, one mentor relationship, and we had one intern at a time, saying that, well, that's all we really have the resources to support. And sometimes that went really well, and other times there were challenges there. As in most places, the mentors also have a full-time job besides their role as a mentor. And I would say we had mixed results, mostly attributable to us organizationally. We changed gears actually as the cohort 0 was approaching, and the career roadshows started back 2 years ago. And we made a decision that we were going to bring in a cohort of interns. You'll hear this cohort term apparently a lot during the presentation, but so 2 years ago, we brought in 4 interns. They were late coming on board with us. It was in April at the career fair at Quinnipiac. And we lined up the 4 interns, and then we went back and said, wow, we got to have a project. And we took a different approach, and it was a project that we felt could be completed within the summer. There was a budget, there was a facilitator, and then resources that were brought to bear. And then these young men and women joined us right after finals, so I guess mid-May timeframe. And it was successful beyond our wildest dreams. And some of the things that happened were really interesting. As I said, the internship cohort was given a project and a budget. We felt that the project was attainable during their time frame, that they'd be with us over the summer, and they had a budget. And it was interesting. It was like real world dynamics. These young people each sort of identified what their swim lanes were, what their areas of interest were. Leaders sort of surfaced. So there became, no one picked who was going to be the chief intern, but there sort of became a chief intern. There were people that just loved programming. There were people that were shop rats and wanted to be out on the shop floor. We had an intern who really wanted to dig into both the ROI calculations, return on investment, the costs, the budget management. And it was really, really rewarding to see the dynamics of that group of young people who didn't know each other when they came into the organization sort out how they were going to be effective. And they had hiccups. They went over budget. They had to ask for more money. But they got to work through different areas. We had some of the young people had some programming and CAD design skills, other traditional mechanical engineers. So We had one young man who gravitated towards building a circuit and building fixturing for an end of arm tool. So we had a process. They were challenged to take labor out of the process because we were and continue to be somewhat labor constrained and challenged with the workforce. So they designed and built end of arm tooling. They integrated that end of arm tooling into both a traditional robot and a cobot, a collaborative robot. And we were targeting them to be able to eliminate one operator from a line, and they actually achieved in the pilot program taking 2 operators out, which allowed us to deploy those to other jobs and meet the needs. The other thing that we worked towards was an end of the session. They had to prepare and were asked to deliver a report out. And that report out was to the senior leadership team from PTA. I believe Paul and Eileen joined, so we had CCAT representation, chief manufacturing officer was there, their professors were there. And so it was real world. They developed their own presentation. They had to pick and choose who was going to discuss which roles. We challenged them to talk about the things that went well, the things that could have gone better, what they learned. And so overall, that experience was wonderful. And we elected to repeat that last year. Similar results, very successful project, growth of the team, and again, the reward of certainly for us, watching them mature, grow, figure out who was going to communicate. They were able to figure out each other's skills, and they really leveraged, that 3 or 4 people working that way. They became a force multiplier for each other. So I think was important, the value of the projects that we got, but I think it changed the whole dynamics on the value of the learning experience because they had to work in what it was going to really be like when they joined a department somewhere. So we're really happy.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. And I'll tell you, it's always a highlight to sit in on the presentation that the interns are giving to you and your management team to really see the process that they go through. But for them, understanding for them to be able to go back to school knowing that they've completed a project and knowing that they've made an impact on an organization is really tremendous. And it's a great way for us to take what they're learning in school. And I think in this case, they had no idea of what robots and cobots and all of that. And, they had to go out and research all of it. So we actually sent them back to school knowing more than they needed to know that when they left school. So it was great. It's certainly great to do that. So Carol, you've had some great success at Habco with some internships. Don't you tell our listeners here a little bit about your organization and the success you've had with your program?
Thanks, Paul. So here at Habco, we're located in Glastonbury, Connecticut. We've been around for over 50 years. We are a manufacturer of engine tooling, ground and test support equipment, both military and commercial applications. We also just recently launched our FAA 145 repair station. So that's taking us down the path of actually working on items that fly on aircraft as opposed to just supporting aircraft. But we have about 50 employees, and I would say probably 33% of our team are direct labor. And when it comes to the intern program, I can say when I joined Habco 6 years ago, our intern program was definitely not robust. The real need for us was on the engineering side. And as we all know, engineers are few and far between. To find them, secure them, especially bring them on as interns. And so to kind of start the program, we wanted to make sure that we put structure around our program. So the first thing was really partnering with a number of colleges and universities. We were able to identify a couple that we've partnered with very well in the past 4 to 5 years, predominantly UConn and CCSU. One of the things for anybody who's looking at creating an engineering intern program, CCSU has job fairs multiple times a year that are just geared toward engineers. So it saves you a lot of time. to be able to go and know that you're going to be speaking to just a variety of engineers. So for me, a lot of what I wanted to share today is some of the kind of lessons learned when it comes to recruiting and also then developing your program. We have found that making sure that it's not just HR attending these job fairs is critically important. So we typically will send at least 2 of our engineering team members to our job fairs, and I highly recommend that you send at least one who's a fairly recent graduate, because they have that connection point with current students. And it also gives our younger team members an opportunity to stand up and actually interact with colleagues at their level. And the other thing for us was really finding a way to kind of identify the hook that differentiates Habco. We're a smaller business, it's high mix, low volume. So it's, you know, a complex custom one-off environment. And so when it came to finding engineers, we had to have that hook, what was going to attract them to us. And for us, it was really the fact that coming into Habco, whether it's an intern or a full-time engineer, you're going to have responsibility for the full project life cycle. And so from the start of conversations at the customer level, right straight through to making sure that an item is shipped out, you're involved in all of that. And so that really became the hook for us, which helped us secure individuals who were really looking to work in that smaller type environment. And then on the program side, for us, I think our results that we've seen, which have been amazing the past 4 years, are all about the structure that we've put behind the program. So, you know, in terms of, you know, each year getting prepared for the program, I meet with our engineering team, and we actually have a format, a template that they fill out once we have secured the actual interns for the summer. And typically we're anywhere from 2 interns to 4 interns. But each one of those interns would report up to a different engineer, but we still make sure that the interns are involved in some collaborative work throughout the summer. And so each of the engineering supervisors is responsible for developing a full project. So there's probably 50% of the interns' time is going to be focused on a specifically assigned project. The other 50% is getting exposure to all areas of the organization, both the engineering area, the production floor area. And so once our interns come in, the supervisor will sit with them, go through that full project so that they understand the expectations, they understand the project, the focus, they understand, and it's confirmed what skills they're going to build by staying with us for that summer. And so once we start down that path, as I said, there are some areas where we want to make sure there's collaboration with the interns that we have on board, but it's a good mix of the exposure that they're going to get. And then as we proceed through the summer, we do regular check-ins with the interns. We, in fact, treat them pretty much like any new employee coming in. So we have monthly all hands meetings. We introduce them at that monthly meeting. We make sure they go through all of the initial trainings that are part of our onboarding process, like training on our ERP system, AS 9100 training, safety walkthroughs, all of the policies, handbook related items, so that they feel as though they're a member of the team. And then as we get toward the completion of the summer internship, each of our interns will sit with the supervisor who does a full evaluation of how they've performed over the summer. So it's a full evaluation of how they performed against the project and how they performed as part of the team, giving them all of the feedback that will help determine if this is a mutually beneficial relationship to continue in the future. And then finally, I meet with every intern at the end of the summer to just kind of go through how did they feel the program went for them? Did they get value out of the program? What, you know, information can they share with us? There have been a lot of things that have come out of those meetings where we've tweaked our program because interns have come up with recommendations of areas that we weren't focused on that maybe they wanted to be focused on. So for example, you know, we've got a whole production floor with a lot of CNC equipment, welding areas, etc. And we've had a lot of our interns come back at the end of the summer and say, you know what, it would be great if we could actually get some exposure to operating some of that equipment. So we introduced that into the next year's plan. And so when you look at all of those pieces that we've put into place, but I can't stress enough the structure of the program. We've been able to create a really robust pipeline. We've got 2 engineers returning this summer, one for their 3rd summer, one for their 2nd summer. I have people coming to us now instead of me going out actively looking for them. So one of the things I also encourage, tap your interns when they come in to have them recommend future people, because that's a huge piece of continuing your pipeline. And I'd say probably the next thing is we're all now starting to focus even at the high school level. And what we've done for high school students, we've done some contractual work with some individuals who have plans to go down an engineering path. And then even with individuals in their freshman year, although we typically don't bring in somebody at their freshman year, we have offered them the opportunity to come in during the summer and spend days for a 1 or 2 week period of time with our summer interns. They get assigned to an intern so they can get a feel for what our program is like, what's going on, both, you know, within the engineering area and out on the floor. So all of those things, it's really just coming up with the creative ways to, you know, make sure that you're tapping all of the appropriate and, you know, resources out there and ways to make sure that you can have a robust program.
Yeah, Carol, that's an excellent point. And Michael just highlighted it in the chat, is that use your existing interns to provide you referrals for new interns.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely. And pay them a referral bonus. We will do that for our interns. So
there you go. There you go. So make it, make it beneficial in a couple of different levels. I remember summer we had 4 interns at Editor Engineering, and they would go to lunch together, and they would, hang out together, and they were all working on different projects. We called it summer camp for them. So we're having but we're bonding together, which was great, and all of that. All right, so now we're going to go to the eastern part of the state. So we're working our way across the state. We went from Oxford to Glastonbury. Now we're going to go head out to the eastern part of the state, where we have Hannah Belmont with Westminster Tool.
Thanks, Paul. And we're definitely on the scale of like company size as well. We're real tiny compared to a lot of the other members that we've had joining the webinar today. But Westminster Tool, we've got about 35 employees. So for us, we're really on the smaller scale. We've been around that size for a long time. But for us, we're also in the plastics industry like PTA, but we're a mold making shop. So we're a machine shop. And, the nature of the work that we do is heavily invested in R&D. There's a lot of innovation that goes into the work that we do. We don't typically tend to make molds for plastic parts that are the same for every customer. Every time we work on a tool, it's completely different. So there's a lot of research and development that goes into our work. And our internship programs that we've had over the last few years are definitely reflective of that. And, I would say that for us, we're also really in the early stages of having an internship program. We've been having interns come into Westminster Tool for years. Probably in the last, 8 to 10 years, we've had interns in the summer, but only in the last few years have we completely changed our program and really completely changed our approach. And we're kind of in the ideas phase where we're trying to learn about, learn from other companies, even the ones on the call today, about how we can take that program to the next level. But historically speaking, our approach was very traditional in the sense that we would look at our projects, we would look at our backlog and say, okay, where do we have a need to add an intern that's going to give us the most value? This tends to be in our design and engineering space, where we'd look for engineering students who had some kind of plastics background or mechanical engineering, or people who could help us do mold designs. And one of our priorities for that traditional program was consistency. We were asking ourselves, how can we get consistent output from our interns year over year? And how can we use these interns to help us with our existing backlog? But the problem with that is that we had an intern program that kind of was like a one size fits all. And as the talent development manager here at Westminster Tool, I've been working in this space now for the last 3 years, and we really have challenged ourselves to think differently about how we build relationships with interns. And I personally have used my own experience as an intern of what was I looking, coming out of college, and in college, what was I looking to get out of my own internships and my own experiences. And one of the things that we found, especially with, interviewing some of our current interns at the time when we were first developing the program, was what do they want to get out of it? And a lot of interns responded that they had no idea what they wanted to do for career choice. They were really looking for direction on goal setting. So we said, okay, how are we going to work that into our program so that we can help interns with goal setting? So rather than building this really comprehensive, consistent, structured program, we added structure to the points that were going to add value, the most value to the interns. So we came up with 3 different areas. Is that we first, whenever we were looking at interns, we were looking to add value by professional career goals. What skills professionally is that person looking to build while they're here for a short time at Westminster Tool? The second category was technical skill. What current technical skills do they have, if any? And where are those technical skills? What are those areas that they're looking to grow? And then the third was how can they add value to the Westminster Tool team? As I'm sure any company that's hired interns or, hired seasonal, summer young workforce, that 3 months is not enough time. It's not nearly enough time as we think it is. So one of the things that we did is we took the Westminster Tool culture and onboarding process, and we really consolidated it in the last few years to really pinpoint on those 3 goals. And we actually sit down one-on-one with every single one of our interns and ask them, what are your professional aspirations? How can we help you with that? In some cases, for instance, it has nothing to do with an engineering or a traditional college background. So like, for instance, we have, one intern that is now a full-time employee, Jonathan Varga. When he started, he said, I have no clue what I want to do, but I want to become a business owner. I'm really interested in entrepreneurship. And we said, okay, we can work with that. So we modified his internship, his first internship, and he's come back several summers since then, to focus on those professional goals. And a lot of that was organizational communication, operational management, things that are completely separate outside of what we would typically look for in an internship program. For technical skills, he really wanted to focus on some kind of manufacturing or industrial engineering, even though that wasn't his degree, wasn't his background, or what he was pursuing at the time. So we said, okay, let's figure out how we can work some more industrial engineering based concepts into this. And then finally, we had R&D projects that we knew we could add, that Jonathan could add immediate value just based on his problem solving skills. So we incorporated those into how we worked on his professional goals. But since we've made these developments, we've tripled the amount of interns that we hire. We've completely added so much diversity in backgrounds, in technical abilities, in regions. We've been recruiting from a wider range since then, and we've been able to attract so many different perspectives for this internship program. And for us, that difference of perspective, not just all coming from the same engineering track, has brought a ton of innovation and ingenuity to our team. And in a lot of cases how we measure success is not, does that engineer or that engineering intern or that whatever department intern stay with us, but do they come back? We've found that over the last 3 years, half of our interns have gone elsewhere to work, and then they come back to Westminster Tool. So like I said, we're still in the early stages. We're still learning a lot about where we can take this internship program, but I think that we're definitely on the right track so far.
Great. Thank you, Hannah. It's wonderful to hear all the things that are happening out there at Westminster Tool. And don't discount yourself. While you might be small in headcount, you're mighty in contributions that you and your family make to the manufacturing ecosystem here in the state of Connecticut.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Always grateful for your point of view and your perspective. All right, so now we're going to hear from an intern. We're going to hear from somebody who's actually gone through these experiences. So please welcome Cassandra Chambers to the discussion. And I've met Cassandra a couple of times at a couple of intern events. And Eileen Candles has told me that Cassandra is the one that always asks the really good questions. And she's right. She really asks the good questions, and she's incredibly engaging. So Cassandra, welcome to the conversation, and let everybody know about your experience as an intern here in the state of Connecticut.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Right now, I'm working at A1 Machining in New Britain, Connecticut. We're doing large aerospace components, so a lot of turning and milling. And I am the only intern here right now, so although it's a little bit of pressure, you know, it's definitely a lot of information that I am super happy to be getting because I have a plethora of people to go to, many mentors to ask any kind of question that I have. So I get to pretty much branch off into anything that I can navigate into as far as programming, design, tooling. Those are the main three that I've been working in so far. And then, of course, a little bit of quality. But the big thing is having the people to go to with questions, because, you know, being an intern, we're always just trying to learn as much as we can. And there's a lot to it. But operating the machines has been another really cool thing that I've been able to get to do here. So exploring like 5-axis mill, I've been able to run a full program and do the startup and shut down of a machine, which was, it really helps to, you know, wrap your head around everything that you're doing on the engineering side of it to, you know, get a process from start to finish. So overall, it's definitely been a great experience here, and I plan on being here for a while, you know, as long as they want me to be here. So yeah.
Cassandra, tell everybody a little bit about Connecticut's manufacturing internship program. So during the summer, right, we take you out and we bring you to some other places. So talk about some of the other companies that you visited, some of the things that you've seen, and then some of the other interns you've had an opportunity to interact with from around the state.
Yeah, so the CCAT tours were like the highlight of my summer. It was great. Being able to work with other interns and, you know, other people that are my age and in the same place in their career, you know, early career, with trying to figure out where they want to go, finding people just as, you know, kind of scared of how big the world is was pretty cool, because it's nice to be in that environment outside of just school. So that was so great. Exposure to like what other work environments was huge too, because it's not something that you get unless you're, you know, going to an interview or something like that, or you're doing your own tour of a company with you and like one-on-one with someone else. But with the tours, it was great because it was, I don't know if intimate is the word, but it was, you know, there was no pressure to know everything, and being able, I know you mentioned I asked a lot of questions. I did ask a lot of questions this summer. Every place that we went, I tried to, you know, make sure I got a good grasp on, you know, how different places are doing or going about doing their processes and things of that nature. So, and then the exposure to how many different places that you could go with a manufacturing career, especially in Connecticut, was just very eye-opening. So yeah, CCAT was very, very good for many, many reasons.
So I'm sure you learned a lot about a lot of different things that were made in Connecticut that you had no idea.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, right, absolutely. Yeah, and that's great. Yeah, and listen, we're glad you ask a lot of questions. That means you're curious and that you want to learn. And I think everybody that gave tours loved the questions that you asked and were able to respond to those as well. So thank you for sharing that experience, and thanks for sharing all the wonderful things that you're doing in your current internship. All right, well, now it's kind of time to turn it back to Eileen, and Eileen's going to tell you another reason why you should be doing this internship program and talk to you about some of the great programs we have to support our manufacturers across the state. So Eileen, welcome back.
Thank you so much, Paul. And Donna, if you could, there we go, pull up some slides. So it really is a simple process to participate in the manufacturing internship program. Again, this is funded by DECD and the Manufacturing Innovation Fund. And thank goodness they have seen it so impressive and important to put a program around this to have us help you. So what I will also add is that in the course of this last year, there have been some recent updates that will make some changes to further diversify the pool of talent that we are going to help support to bring to your programs. First and foremost, I want to echo what Hannah said about the diversity of students. You can reach out to us. We will put up free postings for you on our shared website, ccat.us/interns, in that lower right-hand corner of this slide. And we will also provide you with access to all the resumes that we receive in a large database. Last year, that was 85 resumes. 75 of those were students who had manufacturing engineering majors as students. This year, we know it's going to include that again and be even a more diverse group, as we want to bring you lots of different types of talent, knowing that you might have openings in your marketing department, your human resources department, or that manufacturing really needs computer science skills. And so students with other STEM major subject focus areas, we want to also bring you. And we want to support those whether they come from a 2-year or a 4-year school. So we're both going to support that from the diversity of people that are accessible to you through the resume support database. And you can't access it without signing up for us to post for you. So that's step number 1. Step number 2, come to our statewide internship and career fair. So that's the Manufacturing, Engineering, and Technology Career Fair, and I'll have more on that in a moment. Third thing is, once you select your interns or have those return, like HABCO will have some returnees, we want you to enroll them into the program, providing us with access to the information to reach out to them. This year, both their personal and their work email and their cell phone will be requested, along with the fact that we'll be asking you for their demographics, because part of our intent in this program is to help diversify the mix of students supported, as well as get you access to a more diverse student body base for your selection process. Then, after you enroll them, we're going to ask you to encourage them to attend the orientation kickoff and our June and July tours. And again, there'll be a little bit more coming on that. And lastly, at the end of the summer, after you've wrapped up with the students, around late July, we'll open up the application for you to submit for a matching wage subsidy up to 50% of the wages, capped at $3,500 each, for up to 4 STEM major interns or 2 non-STEM, 2 STEM, etc. And this is exclusive to those employers who have between 3 to 300 employees. But let me be clear, every employer in Connecticut in manufacturing is welcome to have their people participate in the program events. It is just the wage subsidy is restricted to those companies who meet those qualifying parameters and who have less than 300 employees. We flip to the next slide. This shows you how to register for the Manufacturing, Engineering, and Technology Career Fair. We're excited to be back with Lynn Byers and John Bao and the whole Quinnipiac University amazing team again. It'll be our 3rd year. Last year, we saw over 400 students who came from around the state. There were 100 employers present, and we aim to have 100 Connecticut manufacturing employers present again this year. So if you haven't yet signed up, please do. If you have questions on any of these programs, reach out to me. And this year, we know we're going to exceed 500 students. Personally, I'd love to exceed 600 or 700 students coming. And John Bao is the fabulous coordinator of buses from different colleges. And that does include both the Connecticut State community colleges, as well as 4-year colleges across the state. And then the next slide, just some reminders. Again, in the upper left-hand corner, that's the single website to go to for all of the information surrounding this program. Reminder again, this is open to have you enroll all college interns. There were some small businesses that had 10 interns. They enrolled all of them. Last year, they were only eligible to pull a wage subsidy for up to 2 of them. This year, that's increased to up to 4 of them. But we will accept and be happy to have you enroll any and all of your college interns to participate in the activities of this program. June 5th is a Wednesday, and we will be having a half-day orientation kickoff at Trump Manufacturing in Farmington. We have room for the first 65 interns to attend live. And we will stream the presentation portion of the event for those who are remote. And that will probably start around 11-ish a.m. for the presentation portion, but we still are fleshing out the agenda and figuring when Paul's schedule will also accommodate us for that event. But there will be tour and demonstrations at Trump. There will be a professional development session, including Karen Hines from Workplace Success, who's a very dynamic speaker about goals and about the transition from being in college to being in the work world. And we will also have a panel of speakers who are now currently working in manufacturing, but were interns during their college summers. And then Paul Lavoie will give some comments, and we will have lunch factored in for the students during that time. Then during the rest of the summer, so June and July, we will have at least 4 additional tours around the state, as well as an end of summer social event. Right now, I know we will be going to Lesser Evil, the popcorn manufacturing company down, and snack foods as well. They're down in Danbury, Connecticut. And I am in conversations with a few other companies who are open and ready to open their doors for tours. Last summer, we attended Horst and PTA Plastics, Westminster Tool, Microboard, as well as Bausch Advanced Technologies. And they were fabulous tours. So thank you again to all of you who opened your doors for us last summer. We'd love to come back to you, but we also know we need to keep showing off more of our amazing manufacturing companies here. But do be in touch with me if it's something that you think your company would like to participate in if you're on the call. And last is the matching wage subsidy. So again, this is open for rising sophomores, juniors, or seniors at 2 or 4-year colleges. And you can find all the details on that website. And I think with that, we're gonna open up, and I'm gonna ask all of the panelists to come back on the phone, and we can address some of the questions. So let me pull up some from the chat. And Paul, if you've seen any of those, that would be great too. Let me get back there.
Absolutely, Eileen. So thank you. So we do have some questions in the chat, and one of the questions is from Eric. For all presenters, who is your main mentor as a person or function? What prep for them to take on and what might be expected? And what good and bad experiences can we learn from? And I know, Michael, you responded to this in the chat by saying we've used one of our younger engineers as the primary point of contact for the engineering and operations team and engineering interns. They acted as the facilitator. We provided access to the entire organization, and then the facilitator did weekly check-ins. So it looks like you had a facilitator, young engineers as mentors, and regular check-ins with that. Is that correct?
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. Yep.
Okay. And then, so Carol and Hannah, when you brought these interns in, how did you assign mentors to them, and what process did you use to let them know what's expected? And is there anything that if you could do it over again, you'd do it over again, which you probably are, right? That's us. Manufacturers always are looking to take it to the next level of improvement. So,
Yeah, we relied on our engineers to, we pretty much have assigned each intern to an engineer internally. And then once again, just making sure that we put the structure behind putting together that full project plan that sets all of the expectations. So that supervisor would review that information from the time that person starts, and then it's reevaluated at the end of the internship. But, once again, that's who's also responsible for ensuring that our interns get exposure to people across the organization so that they become familiar with the different functional areas as well.
great. Hannah?
Yeah, we just same kind of model. We have a one-to-one, support person. We call it our coach player model for the sports fans on the call. But for us, that one-to-one model is really based around whatever their technical skill goals are and what projects they're going to be working on. What we do is we do supplemental cross-training based on their professional goals, where they get matched up with other people in the shop. And this is like the perfect lead into some of the biggest lessons we've learned, is that we really made the mistake of, not knowingly, we siloed our interns on very specific projects in a very specific niche area of the shop. And every company on here, I'm sure, has technical silos like this. But we didn't realize we were limiting their exposure to other professional areas that could be potential interests. So for instance, we had design engineering and interns that were just working on designing molds with our engineering team, but they never got to spend any time with our quality team. Or they never got to spend any time, like Cassandra was mentioning, that exposure to that machine, operating the machinery. I mean, that's a huge piece of the puzzle when you're trying to look at a holistic approach to building out career goals, especially in manufacturing, where so many of these technical skills go together. So for us, the second we kind of, removed those barriers, we started working in cross exposure to every single area of our team into our intern program. So our interns actually do a rotational cycle for professional goals where they get to spend at least 1 week with every single functional team we have in our company for that reason.
Excellent. Thank you. So we have a question from Alexis who asks, when do you ask them about the 3 development goals? Before day 1, on day 1, or some other time?
Every day, all day. Really, that question needs to be brought up right before, during the interviewing process, when you're trying to match an intern to see if they're a good fit for your company. That should be one of the first questions that you're asking in the recruitment process. It absolutely should be incorporated into the onboarding. Once you determine that intern is a good fit, they're going to, join the team for this amount of time. What are your professional goals? And then, like any goal, it needs to be tracked over time. One of the things that we modified with our program related to this question of what are those professional goals is how satisfied is that intern with feeling like they're making progress on that. Like Carol and Michael mentioned, that they're constantly collecting that feedback from their interns along the way throughout the duration of their time there, and especially at the very end, so that we can develop our own programs to better serve those interns. Because again, we're not just hiring interns so that they can help us with our work and add value to the company. We're also hiring interns because we need to inspire and engage that next generation of workforce. And that means that we need to be providing value to them. So asking that question as often as possible and creating that environment where the intern feels comfortable with sharing how they feel like they're doing, I think is so critical.
Michael, how about a PTA?
Well, we're, a little bit going back to some of what both Carol and Hannah said. Again, you saw our approach is a little bit different, but when we build out what that project is that we're going to charge the intern cohort with, that is built as a cross-functional project. So they may be beginning with our design team, our engineering team, then they're out on the shop floor and they're working with a molding process technician to understand the molding piece and how they integrate tooling into that. And then then their parts, after they work on it, need to go through inspection to make sure they're meeting cosmetic and mechanical requirements. So we don't create a formal rotation, but we build the project scope so that it integrates through the entire operation. So again, it's just different strokes for different folks. We found that model works for us, and we do a really crappy job in the one-on-one assignments. That's just not us. That's not the way we roll. And it's great if it does. And like I said, we give them a lot of freedom, a lot of flexibility, the ability to fail fast and regroup. And we're okay if they stub their toe 2 or 3 or 4 times, because that's as big a part of the learning process as being wildly successful first time out of the chute. So
well said.
Different flavor.
Yep. No, well said. Well said. Carol, anything to add to that on development?
No, I think, I think for us, because our engineers have responsibility for full project life cycle, they are getting that exposure across the board, both during the, focus on the specific project assigned to them, as well as just the exposure that we're giving them throughout the summer. They're touching every functional area and meeting the team members throughout the entire summer.
Great. Thank you. The additional question, Eileen, is the recording of the Zoom to be mailed out to us? And I think your answer was yes. And then the short slide deck as well. A couple of things that, are there any other, well, let me ask if there's any other questions. I don't see any other questions in the chat.
No, I don't see any other questions in the chat, but you know what I'd like to ask, Paul? Cassandra, could you share with us what your experiences were, varied from when you were at Sikorsky as an intern 1 year to working in a smaller manufacturer? I'd love it if you could share out your impression of that.
It's huge. We all know that. It was kind of hard to, I don't want to say stay engaged, but it felt like I wasn't getting exposed to as much as I could have been, because it was a bit more directed towards, you know, one task, one goal there. Whereas here it's, you know, I get to see a project start to finish and be involved in every aspect of it. So Sikorsky was great as far as you know, getting exposure to what it's like working with for a giant corporation, and seeing how a department with that many engineers can also still work together and you know, collaborate, but very vast difference. Being at a smaller company, we have less than 100 employees here, so and I'm speaking with the same 4 to 5 engineers a day, so it's yeah, I'm involved in so much more here as far as seeing a project through start to finish, and then it's easier here to be involved in multiple projects at a time as well. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great, Cassandra. I think that, you know, in larger companies, your experience tends to be more vertical, right? I'm going to work in one area and I'm going to just stay in that area, where if you're in a smaller company, you're touching it horizontally, you're going across the entire organization just by necessity, right? There's just, you know, all of the things that you need to do. So, well, this was great. Thank you so much to all of the presenters. Thank you, Cassandra, for your participation. And Eileen, of course, thank you so much for putting this all together. I will tell you that I am so excited that we're going to Lesser Evil this summer. So for you that don't know, Lesser Evil is the world's largest organic snack factory. So if you've ever seen anybody where they just make popcorn all day, it is quite an amazing facility. They make other products too, but primarily it's popcorn that they're making out there in Danbury and in their other facility in New Milford. So I'd like to thank everybody for their participation. For joining us for this call. It's critically important that you understand the internship program and how you can do this successfully. And as Eileen said, you know, the Manufacturing Innovation Fund with our partner, the Connecticut Center of Advanced Technology, is providing you with a wage reimbursement for these interns as well. And we understand that you need interns in other areas, such as accounting or marketing or other areas of your company. So we're willing, again, as Eileen said, up to 4 interns. 2 of them need to be engineering or STEM related. The other 2 can be anywhere at all. But I encourage all of you to take advantage of the internship program, go out and seek interns, learn the lessons that we have today on how to build an effective program, and make sure that we're inspiring that next generation of worker to understand what potential and availability of jobs are here in Connecticut. And most importantly, we hope that these interns meet your growing needs. So as you bring somebody on at the end of the sophomore year and at the end of the junior year, we're hopeful your organization has grown to where when they go back to school in their senior year, they go back with a job offer from your company. And then you can actually work with them on their second semester of their senior year to help guide them on some electives that might be beneficial to your organization. It really makes for a very meaningful experience for the student, and for you, it's a way for you to get some more training for these wonderful interns. So on behalf of everybody that's here, that's presenting, I'd love to thank you for your participation. This is a great example of how to run an amazing internship program. And in Connecticut, as I said, if you learn in Connecticut, we want you to earn in Connecticut. And if you're going to school outside of Connecticut, come back home and make your mama happy. So thank you, everybody. We appreciate it.
Thank you all.